Makai Lemon is with the Eagles. Jacoby Lane is with the Ravens. USC just lost two of their biggest weapons from last season. Not as you mentioned, Walker Lyons, tight end, that's going to be gone this season. Like McRee, who is no longer with the team, but one freshman tight end might have just saved the entire 2026 season and it might just help punch USC's ticket to the college football playoffs. And that guy could be none other than five-star freshman from Mater Dei, Mark Bowman. He enrolled this this spring to be able to come on, came in January. He reclassified from the 2027 class, is in the 2026 class to come on early. 6'4", 235 pounds athlete. Insiders are calling him the next Brock Bowers in some situations. I mean, that's some pretty, some pretty crazy praise. Excuse me, I had a hiccup there for a second. But size, speed, suddenness, he has it all. He's coming to a big program. He had all kinds of other big programs chasing after him. Losing Lemon and Lane creates huge holes for USC next season. And as much as USC is bringing back a lot of great players, Wayman Jordan, King Miller, who broke out last season, obviously Jayden Maiava, who just had a top 5 QBR season and in all of Big Ten football history, like your top 5 best QBR seasons. I think it's since 2007 when ESPN started the QBR for college football. You had number 1, Russell Wilson, number 2, and number 3 were both Justin Fields at Ohio State in 2019 and 2020. Number 4 was CJ Stroud. I believe that was 2021 when he had that. And then Jayden Maiava last season was just a few point 4.5 points, I think, behind CJ Stroud. And he did not get nearly enough credit for that. And so if Jayden Maiava is going to have any season comparable to that, he is going to need some really good pass catchers this season. Now, of course, you got guys like Tanuk Hines and got Terrell Anderson out there as well. Those are going to be huge pieces for USC. But with Lincoln Riley going to some more 12 personnel and stuff, you're going to need the tight ends to step up in this offense. And with multiple tight ends missing spring practice, Tucker Ashcraft missed spring practice, the Wisconsin transfer coming in, USC football is going to need a lot of help from a freshman like Mark Bowman. Although he did reclassify from the 2027 class to the 2026 class, that's like my only concern about Mark Bowman is he ready at just like 17 years old? Is he ready? And that's a valid concern, I think, because you look at a guy like Sonny Styles at Ohio State, who just went top 10 in the NFL draft. He stayed until a senior year. He's only 21 because he reclassified, came early to Ohio State. Did not have the best beginning to his Ohio State career. He played safety early on because he kind of lacked some size and safety just wasn't for him. Eventually, he moves down to linebacker and he becomes a top 10 pick, which as a linebacker is honestly pretty incredible. He wasn't even like an edge guy. At least Arvell Reese at Ohio State was like an edge guy. And so that kind of helped there. But to be a linebacker and go top 10, like that's pretty incredible. You're able to make that happen. So I've watched some film on Mark Bowman, and a lot of this is high school film. So it's really hard to kind of like gauge the impact he might have to the Big Ten right away, especially with that reclassification. But I definitely think you're seeing some really interesting stuff here. So Mater Dei, they did a lot of splitting him out wide. He would burst into his routes like a wide receiver. He would be able to kind of use some head fakes and stuff like that. Really advanced stuff for not just a high school wide receiver, but a high school tight end to be able to go out there, be split out wide, sometimes be put into the slot and do that kind of stuff. I mean, USC added a 235-pound Swiss Army knife that's going to create mismatches. I feel really good about his ability to run routes and be out there and catch the ball. Where I'm not as confident is probably the blocking. And it's not even like I think he's a bad blocker or anything like that. The dude is salty. The dude relishes contact. He wants to go out there. He wants to hit dudes. He wants to go after guys. But in high school, you did see him going after a number of guys that were smaller than him. In this situation in the Big Ten, you're going to see him go after a ton of guys who are the same size, if not bigger. Now, I'm not doubting Mark Bowman at all. Listen, I think he's a great tight end. I think he's going to be really, really good for USC, not just this season, but in the seasons to come. But I think you just have to be honest and say a reclassified true freshman coming into Big Ten football, like, this is what SEC football used to be. Everybody used to say, like, SEC football, you're coming in, you're going to play the best NFL talent out there, and they'll still, say that because they have the most NFL draft picks. But when you play against teams like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, you're going to play both Oregon and Ohio State this season with USC. You're facing some of the best athletes in all of college football. So am I worried about Mark Bowman against, like Fresno State and teams like that? No, of course not. I'm not worried about that. But USC is going to have to beat some really good teams if they hope to make the playoffs this season. And so Mark Bowman, the saltiness, I love it. I love the saltiness. I love the edge that he plays with. I think there's a lot of potential there, but he's going to have to rein it in. He's going to have to not just be the boxer that's trying to throw the haymakers at guys, but he's going to have to be the boxer that also protects, defends, and then also uses his uses his leverage to be able to get the hit, the gut punch, and then go after the face there. I don't know why I'm using a boxing analogy, like I used to be a boxer. If you can't tell, I didn't used to be a boxer, but I guess I felt like it fit for this one. One thing about his blocking that I will say, even though I do have some doubts with it, he is not a guy that gives up on his blocks. He is a dude that finishes every single block. When you watch his high school tape, not just his highlights, but when you watch his high school tape, he's out there finishing blocks, taking dudes to the ground, completely taking them out of the play. There's some dudes that they were giving up before Mark Bowman was even done with them. So, I mean, you combine that with the athleticism, the route running, everything else, like, Mark Bowman is going to be a stud in Big Ten football. There's no doubt about if that's going to happen. It's just, when is that going to happen? Is that going to happen his freshman season? I tend to think that Lincoln Riley knows they're going to need a whole lot from Mark Bowman this season, because you do lose guys, like I said, like McRee, Walker Lyons. They have moved on, leaving the position wide open for some young talent. You had Tucker Ashcraft coming in, but he was injured this spring. Walter Matthews, he was injured this spring as well. Now, both of them are expected to be back in the summer, so that's going to help them. But as we know, missing spring does make a bigger difference in this world of college football than I think it may have used to, because teams are trying to implement stuff sooner, especially with all the transfers and guys like that coming in, especially a guy like Tucker Ashcraft, who, he's not been at USC his entire career or anything. So him coming in and trying to learn the stuff, not super fast, but just trying to learn it, not being there his entire career, being with Lincoln Riley his entire career. I think he'll be fine. Listen, he's 6'5", he's 260s, redshirt junior. He's bigger, kind of your traditional inline tight end who's a strong run blocker. So that's one of the reasons why I feel confident about Mark Bowman, is because I do think when you're running that 12 personnel, I think you can have Tucker Ashcraft be more of that run blocker for you, and you can have Mark Bowman be more of, maybe even like some tight end screens and stuff like that out there. And I think that's really going to help Jayden Maiava. And if these two guys can be on the same page early on, there's going to be a lot of mismatches that Jayden Maiava is going to be able to implement. So multiple tight ends banged up for the spring, creating an immediate opportunity here for the true freshman Mark Bowman. He's already winning practice reps early on. And you can say, like, oh, okay, well, that's bad for the defense. I don't think that's bad for the defense. Like, it didn't sound like all the other tight ends were. So it sounds like Mark Bowman, just a dude with a chip on his shoulder, starting level reps type of guy. Like, rumors are in scrimmages, he was turning heads and, quote, winning the day when others, are kind of being out there limited a little bit. Like I said, it wasn't like, every single tight end was out there winning. That's something you got to look for with these young players. It's like, okay, if they're out there winning a bunch, that's awesome. But is every other guy in his position winning too? It wasn't the case. Now, like I said, Tucker Ashcraft, Walter Matthews, both injured in the spring, so they didn't necessarily have their top tight end type of guys. But overall, I think Bowman steps into USC's tight end room as a true breakout freshman season this year, the kind of season that moves the needle. I would not be surprised if he gets all Big Ten third team, or at least all Big Ten honorable mention at tight end. And heck, I might be selling him short. He could be second team all Big Ten this season. I would not be surprised at all if Mark Bowman gets over 600 yards receiving. Am I going to predict that? No, probably not. I would think probably somewhere around maybe 36 to 40 receptions, maybe somewhere between 480 to 500 yards receiving, but also I might be selling him short. Lincoln Riley might, really scheme up some interesting stuff and be able to do some cool things with him. So it's going to be really interesting to see. USC, they have plus 270 odds to make the college football playoffs in 2026. They are behind Michigan. They're behind Oklahoma. I think Michigan is plus 260 on FanDuel. So, they don't have bad odds at all. I think if anything, the odds are behind Michigan and Oklahoma just because of the schedule more than anything else. Like this USC schedule is no joke. You're not going to see them in top 10 and stuff like that of college football, because people don't take into account buys and things like that. They just look at SP plus numbers and who has the toughest one, so that's one of the reasons why I think you need to come to the Big Ten Huddle for your information on schedules and things like that, because we actually look at that stuff. We actually look at travel and those things. And who knows, maybe Mark Bowman's the type of dude that comes in and he's got the energy early on. He's able to make it happen. It's going to be really interesting to see. So Mark Bowman this season, I think he's set up for a really fun and interesting season this year. I'm really looking forward to see what he does. The 5-star true freshman coming out of Mater Dei should be a whole lot of fun to see.